All right, guys, so today we're going to be going over the American legal system. And this is going to be from our textbook with Chapter 15, Lesson 2. So a lot of stuff we're going to be going over today is dealing with also your vocabulary words that you have to do that are due tomorrow. All right, so with this, we're doing things a little bit differently, but the nice thing is that you should be able to stop and copy down notes or answer questions as you see fit here. Since this is a recording. Now, if you do have any questions, please come up and ask me. I'll be sitting in the back of the computer lab, and I will be able to explain stuff as we go along. All right, so here, let's get started. All right, so with Chapter 15, Lesson 2, what we're going to be doing is taking a look at some of your individual rights and stuff that you have as a citizen with the legal system here. All right, so the first one we're going to take a look at, it says up there, protections against unlawful imprisonment. All right, so with this, one thing we have is something you need to be aware of, and that is writ of habeas corpus. All right, and so what this is Latin, and what this means is that you should have the body before you start to get before you go to trial. All right, so it says there, this is dealing with being imprisoned unlawfully. This requires a prison official to bring the prisoner before a judge, and then the judge will decide if the accused was lawfully imprisoned or not. All right, so with writ of habeas corpus, you have to have evidence for someone to be put in jail. If you do not have that evidence, then you cannot be thrown into jail. Okay, and if you are thrown in jail without evidence there, then that's what they're talking about here with it being an unlawful imprisoned. Okay. Now, we do have two key terms here I want to go over just so we have a good understanding of them. All right, and the first one is bill of attainder. All right, so bill of attainder says a law that punishes a person accused of a crime without a trial or a fair hearing in court. All right, so with bill of attainder, this is something that cannot happen. You cannot go to jail. You cannot be imprisoned without having a trial, without seeing a judge. All right, because this goes against your constitutional rights. And if this does happen, then you can actually have your case thrown out because your constitutional rights are not being followed. All right. Now, this next one we have is what we call an ex post facto law. All right, and so with an ex post facto law, a law that would allow a person to be punished for an action that was not against the law when it was committed. Again, this is something else that cannot be done. All right, so what ex post facto laws are talking about is that you cannot be punished for a crime that wasn't a crime when you committed it. All right, so if you do something and a city doesn't like it, but there is no law there, you cannot be punished for it. All right, so if you do something that the city does not like, then the city goes and creates a law. The city cannot come back and punish you for breaking that law there. Okay, so these are two terms here that you need to be aware of. So bill of attainder and ex post facto law. All right. Now, the next one we have is we're getting some legal terms on how our trials and stuff are operating. All right. And this first one we have is what we call due process. All right. So due process is the government may not take our lives, liberty, and property without following legal procedures. All right. So if you are accused of a crime, the government can't start taking stuff until you have been found guilty by a jury. That's what we're talking about here with due process. You have to have that trial. If you do not have that trial, the government can't just start taking your things away from you, taking your life, can't throw you in jail, can't take your property, can't take your liberty, your personal freedom, and all of that there. All right. Now, next one stuff here we're going to get into is dealing with if you're ever accused of a crime, you do have some rights and stuff that are given to you. All right, so the Constitution makes sure that people accused of the crime receive fair treatment. All right, because this bullet point right down here at the bottom right here, a person is believed to be innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This is very, very important, and this is actually something that a lot of people tend to overlook nowadays. All right, so just because someone is arrested, it does not mean that they are actually guilty of a crime. All right, you are not guilty of a crime until you are found guilty by a jury of your peers, meaning you've gone through the trial process and the prosecution laid out everything to prove that you are guilty. All right. So again, just because someone's arrested, it does not mean they are guilty. All right. So it says right there, innocent until proven guilty, and that's something we really do need to keep in mind with stuff when we're taking a look at it from a legal standpoint. All right. Now, to go along with that, if you are accused of a crime, you have to have the right to defend your self in a courtroom. Okay, because you can't be accused of a crime, found guilty, and you not even get a chance to defend your actions or defend what happened, or maybe have a counter argument, come up with an opposite argument as to what you are being charged with. Okay. Now, we're going to start to take a look here at some amendments that we have that are in the Constitution that deal with your rights and stuff as a U.S. citizen if you are accused of a crime. So the first one we're going to take a look at here is the Fourth Amendment. All right. So the Fourth Amendment protects citizens against unreasonable search and seizures. All right. So what unreasonable search and seizures means is that the police have the right to search your belongings and then seize or take anything that they feel you should not have. But there is a little asterisk here that goes with it. If they are going to search your home or search your property, the police have to have what's called a search warrant. All right. Now, what's written in the search warrant has to be very specific, because if it's not specific, they can't collect everything that they need to. So if they're going to search your home, it has to say, all right, we are looking for this. We think this home has drugs in it. We're looking for this type of drugs. Or we think this home has a weapon that was part of a crime that we want to have in our evidence and stuff. Okay. Now, police cannot take stuff that isn't written on the search warrant either. So that's why sometimes search warrants might be very broad or might include a lot of different stuff here because of that reason. Because if they take something that's not on the search warrant, they cannot use that evidence in a trial. Okay. Now, if police find evidence of a crime through illegal search, that evidence won't be allowed in court. All right. So I know it says if police find evidence of a crime, take out one of those. All right. So let's say again, if they find stuff that of other illegal activities that are going on in your house and they don't specify that on your search warrant, they cannot use that in court. Okay, and that's what we refer to as the exclusionary rule, because that evidence is going to be excluded from the trial here. Okay. Now, again, if I'm going too fast, remember you should have the option here to pause these videos and stuff. And if you need to come ask me questions, please do so. All right. Now, the next one we have is our Fifth Amendment. All right, so this amendment protects individuals against self-incrimination. All right, so what this means is that if someone is asking you questions about basically, did you commit this crime, you have the right to not answer any questions that might prove you are guilty. All right, so you do not have to answer any questions that might prove you are guilty. Okay, and that's why a lot of times it's very good if you have a lawyer there, because they can help you navigate these questions that the cops are asking you. All right, police must inform suspects of their right to refuse to answer police questions, and these come to you from your Miranda rights. All right, and we're going to be taking a look at a court case so you can see where you actually got your Miranda rights from. All right, sorry, I had a little bit of a pause there. But anyways, also the Fifth Amendment also protects you from what we call double jeopardy. So what that means is that if you are found not guilty of committing a crime, you cannot be tried again for that same crime. All right, so for example, let's say someone killed someone and the jury finds them not guilty. Well, they go and kill someone else. They still can get charged for that second crime. But if you are found not guilty for killing someone, and then after you found not guilty later on, you say, yeah, I actually did kill that person, well, they can't come back and take you to court for that original crime. So that's what we're talking about here with double jeopardy. All right. Now, the next one we have here is your Sixth Amendment. And so this amendment grants you the right to be defended by a lawyer. And this is another court case that we will be taking a look at. And the court case is Gideon versus Wainwright. All right. So with the Sixth Amendment, you have the right to an attorney, even if you cannot afford one. All right. So if you can't afford one, the court systems are supposed to appoint you what's called a public defender. All right. Now, anytime you're being questioned by the cops, it's always a good idea to have a lawyer present because they are supposed to be experts in the law. Okay. Now, if you are accused of a crime, you have the right to know what you are being accused of. They can't just arrest you and say, oh, someone's accused you of a crime, and we're not going to tell you what it is. No, that's not how it works. If you're accused of a crime and they come to arrest you, they have to say, we're arresting you because you're being accused of, and then they tell you what it is or what you're being arrested for. All right. So the Sixth Amendment also gives you the right to a trial by jury. All right. So your jury usually consists of 12 people, and they are considered to be a jury of your peers here. But having a jury of your peers is really controversial because really what is your peers and what's not your peers? So that's something we'll get into at a later time. All right, you have the right to a speedy and public trial, meaning if you're arrested for a crime, your trial has to happen within a certain amount of time. So you're not sitting in jail for 3 or 4 years. Now, you might sit in jail for a couple of months, and that's considered to be okay because it's still within a reasonable amount of time. All right, and then you're also have the right to what's called a public trial, meaning the public can come and watch it. All right, and the reason being that the public can come and watch it is that the public is there to make sure your rights are not being violated and making sure that all of the court proceedings are happening the appropriate way as well. All right. Now, most cases actually don't go to trial because a lot of people will end up signing what's called a plea bargain. All right. And so they're making a deal with the prosecution or making a deal with the government for usually a reduced sentence so that they don't have to pay for all this stuff for going to trial here. Okay. And then the next one we have here is your Eighth Amendment. All right. So this amendment outlaws excessive or extreme penalties that forbids cruel and unusual punishment. So basically, the punishment has to fit the crime. Okay. So if you are arrested for stealing a piece of gum, you're not going to get the death penalty because that penalty there does not fit the crime. Okay, so this amendment also prohibits excessive bail, and bail is what you pay to get out of jail before your trial. Okay. So again, if let's say you are accused of stealing a piece of gum, the judge is not going to set your bail at $30 million. Okay, so you might set your bail at like a couple $100 to $1,000 or something like that. All right, so again, the bail has to fit the crime, and so does your punishment. Because here in America, you cannot have excessive or extreme punishment, and your punishments can't be unusual, they can't be cruel, those sorts of things there. All right. Now, some of the stuff here that's the judge is going to take a look at in determining if you actually get bail or not, because it's not guaranteed to you just because you're arrested for a crime. All right. So the judge is going to take a look at the seriousness of the crime. So what type of crime did you commit? Was it murder? Was it triple murder? Whatever it was, or was it simply running a red light? Okay. Because yes, we do have varying levels here of the types of crimes you can commit. All right, and then they're going to take a look at your criminal record. Have you been arrested before? Is this your first crime? All right, and then your ability to pay jail. Do you have a steady job? Do you not have a job? All of these sorts of things there, the judge will be taking a look at. All right. So next, you guys are going to be working on writing this assignment. And then if you scroll up a little bit here in Google Classroom, I'll actually have a place for you guys so you can type it out on the computer. And then you will be able to turn it into me the same way that you guys did your turn-in stuff yesterday. All right. So here's your assignment. So there's a constant debate on if the death penalty is considered to be cruel and unusual punishment, which also violates your Eighth Amendment rights. So I want you to write an essay. It doesn't have to be a long essay, just a couple of paragraphs here, maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs, stating your opinion if the death penalty goes against the Eighth Amendment. All right, so again, if you have any questions, please come back and ask me, and I'll be happy to explain anything here in these notes. Okay?